We'll puck it inside the WVLT newsroom as we sit about a week and a half day from the start date for the Real ID program here in the United States. If you're not familiar with a Real ID, it is what you're going to need to fly domestically in the United States and also enter some federal buildings. The Real ID, it starts May 7th. That's a week from this Wednesday. What that basically means is it's a driver's license that's enhanced. It has a little bit more to it. The Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security working hard to meet increased demand as folks head to their driver services center looking to get that Real ID that's got a star in the upper right-hand corner and is a little bit more advanced security features wise as you get ready to board a domestic flight in the United States and enter a handful of federal facilities. Nuclear power plants, some places like that will require you to have one of these Real IDs. One of the people tasked with making sure that this rollout goes almost as seamlessly as possible is Special Agent Jason Packey, is the Director of Communications for the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Jason, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day as you get ready for the 7th to join us. But just on a broad scale, what is the Real ID from you?
Well, the Real ID is an enhanced security feature, a credential that will allow travelers domestically to get through security with the Transportation Security Administration. Passed about 20 years ago after September 11th attacks, because some of the hijackers, were going through the airport security lines, and they, I guess, the lawmakers wanted a stronger credential. So, fast forward 20 years, and here we are. The implementation date, as we like to call it here in Tennessee, is approaching. And a lot of people are standing in lines to get these, and maybe unnecessarily. If you're not flying in the next 30 days, really, you can just wait. I think sometimes the word deadline puts a little bit of pressure on people that maybe they shouldn't, because we'll be getting these IDs out to folks even after the 7th and the 8th and the 9th. So from now on, you can get a Real ID from the state of Tennessee, provided you have the right credentials to do so.
That's an important thing that you all have really stressed as we've been talking through this process is, one, not everyone has to have a Real ID, but two, the 7th is the start date. It's not the last day you can get one.
Exactly. And your old license will work just fine for driving, for voting, and for purchasing things that require a state ID. So there's no rush to go out and get one unless you're traveling domestically. And domestically is an important point because if you're traveling internationally, you're going to have a passport anyway, and that credential will work to get you through airport security as well. So in Tennessee, we are a service provider at the Department of Safety and the Driver Services Centers. The commissioner allowed extra appointments on Saturdays, and we're coming in when people are not working. So hopefully we're going to meet them where they are and offer as many available appointments as we can. So a pro tip we've learned is that if you look at some more rural counties, you may be able to get in faster out there. If you go to safety.gov and look at the Driver Services Center website, there's some real-time wait times in there, so that can maybe help you game it if you don't make an appointment. Certainly welcome to come as well, but appointments are recommended and required for Real ID. It just makes things go more quickly.
So let me make sure I get this right. You don't have to go to the county you live in to get one of these. You can go to any of the counties in Tennessee and get a Real ID?
Right. You can go to any driver's services center. Now, some of the county clerk's offices, may want to just serve their own county folks. That might be something that you run into. But as far as the state of Tennessee, the driver services center, any Tennessee resident can go into any one of those service centers and get a Real ID. Some county clerk's offices are affiliates and do that for the state. And so that might be a little different, but more than likely they'll be able to help you. And the wait times hopefully won't be as bad as we near the approaching date of implementation here.
Yeah, a week from Wednesday. On top of having one of those appointments in the Driver Services Center, there's a handful of specific things that you need to, one, get a driver's license in Tennessee, but two, to get one of these enhanced driver's license. Real fast before I have you outline those, it's important to note that what you need to get a regular driver's license in Tennessee is the exact same thing you need for this Real ID. So outline a couple of those, or everything folks need when they go to a driver services center to get those Real IDs.
Oh, the best thing to do is upload those documents beforehand on our website, and you can get those pre-approved. But it's things like a birth certificate. If you have a passport, that works for identity as well. And then proof of residency in Tennessee, recent residency. So a cable bill, a phone bill, a power bill, utility bill, some of those things will work. It's pretty recent. One of the issues we have seen is people who may not have the same name on their driver's license that they have on, they're married or whatever, or what it was first. So those documents all have to match. So your birth certificate has to match what your current name is, what your current ID is on your passport. So we have seen that. Some people have to go to their county clerk's office and get them to print a copy of their marriage certificate or something like that if they didn't have it. So it's important that all the names match in those documents.
Important, and again, you can make sure to upload those online. You still have to bring them even if you do upload them, but at least once you upload them, you know, hey, this document works, this document doesn't.
Right. We're trying to make it as seamless as possible. There's always a few hiccups along the way. The men and women in the driver services centers are working really hard, and a lot of frustrated people out there. And we're just trying to make sure that they understand, like, you don't have to have it unless you're traveling. And so hopefully that'll cut down on some of the confusion out there and some of the consternation that can come along. Nobody wants to wait in the DMV lines, myself included. But it comes to be a math problem sometimes. There's a lot of people that want it, and there's only a finite amount of employees that the state has. But we're doing everything humanly possible to make sure that folks get their credentials on time. Now, it will take about 20 days, so you're not walking out of there. I know growing up in Morristown, when I got my driver's license when I was 16, I went in and I walked out with one. Now it's a little bit different of a process where you get a temporary receipt. It kind of looks like a receipt. It says temporary license on it. And then 20 to 25 business days later, you should get your credential in the mail.
So important to note that there is no deadline for a real ID unless you plan to travel. Make sure that you at least give yourself 20 days from your application date to before you have to hop on a domestic flight or enter one of these nuclear security facilities to get that real ID.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I mean, Rich, I'm just saying, I think the TSA is doing some workarounds. I've been seeing some public reporting about, even if you don't have it, these first little time period after the implementation date, that maybe you just go through more security screening at the airport or something. I would encourage you to go to the TSA's website and get that information for yourself. But hopefully they're going to come up with some kind of workaround too. But again, there's no rush to get your real ID unless you're traveling in the next little bit here.
Important to note too, and Jason, I think this is what a lot of people will want to know. What is a real ID going to cost me in the state of Tennessee compared to a normal driver's license?
They're the same price, $28, I believe. So there's nothing extra, just the same amount as getting a regular license. So if you have the documentation, it's up to you whether to get it or not. We're not requiring it. It's not a mandate. The driver services offices are simply a customer service center to provide the services that people in Tennessee may want. And so totally up to you. I think we've had 2.9 million people to get their real ID so far. 1 point something chose not to, almost 2 million chose not to. And then just under a million, like 997,000, haven't come up for the cycle of renewing their license or haven't decided yet. So a lot of hard work by the men and women at the Driver Services Center. But should you want it, we'll be there for you. But if you don't need it immediately, nothing's going to change on that day. The sun's still going to come up.
Jason, anything else you feel like we need to talk on this topic when it comes to the real IDs? What folks need to know as the May 7th date approaches. Again, want to emphasize for anyone watching this, if you see it's a deadline, it's not necessarily a deadline. It's just when that starts. If you have a flight between the 7th and 20 days after that, probably a deadline at that stage for you domestically. But anything else you feel like folks should know about the real ID? Actually, this is one question. Let's say you got your driver's license 4 or 5 years ago in Tennessee. You're not quite sure if you have a real one. There's one specific thing folks can look out for in the top right of that ID that'll say, yep, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's the star. And so one question we do get sometimes, Will, is I got my real ID before we started making the new color. There's like the red and blue ID that we have now, the credential that we issue. Mine is the old school with the Y with the Tennessee on top. It has the yellow star. That's just as good as the one with the black star. There's no need to change if you don't have the brand new red and blue credential. The old one with the yellow star is still going to work as well.
A star in the upper right-hand corner. Jason Pack, we appreciate you taking time today as the Real ID start date approaches 1 week from this Wednesday. Jason, as always, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Will.
So that was Jason Pack, Special Agent Jason Pack, Director of Communications for the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, outlining what you need to know as the start date for the Real ID approaches. Again, we touched on a couple of topics there, but a few things to know. Driver Services Center have extended hours into the weekend to make sure to accommodate that. If you want to go and plan to get a new Real ID, you do have to register ahead of time to make things easier on yourself and employees at those Driver Services Center. You can upload your documents onto the state's website to make sure that they're the right documents that'll get you in and out there as seamlessly as possible. You do still need to take them to your appointment once you upload them. An important caveat to that: if you have had a name change, if you have been married, if you have been divorced, between your birth certificate and what you're trying to get on your Real ID driver's license, you need to have the court document that says that you are divorced, or your document of marriage, your marriage certificate that shows that your name is changed and it's different from what's on your birth certificate and or your social security card. 1 week from Wednesday is when the Real IDs begin in America, not just in Tennessee. It is not necessarily a deadline as much as it is a start date. If you still have questions, we answer nearly everything you need to know about the Real ID inside your WVLT News app. Just search for the article, Department of Safety and Homeland Security talks Real IDs as deadline nears in Tennessee. We'll continue to cover this inside the WVLT News app, on the WVLT Facebook page, and across all platforms that WVLT can be found on as that start date approaches.